All right, welcome everyone. If you're in the C-suite, grab a coffee and listen up, because I'm stepping in as your strategic consultant today. We need to have a very serious conversation about your bottom line. We're going to dive into some absolutely fascinating research on HR management, and honestly, by the end of this explainer, I promise you're going to look at your human resources department in a completely different light. Okay, let's jump right in.
I want you to sit with this question for a second. What if your HR department is secretly costing you sales? Seriously, think about it. For decades, right, we've all operated under this illusion that recruitment is just this internal support function, a necessary administrative hurdle. But the data we're unpacking today, it suggests something entirely different. Your hiring process isn't just about filling empty seats anymore. It is directly, actively impacting your customer base.
So here's the roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll look at the hidden revenue leak, then the infamous Virgin Media warning. After that, we're mapping out recruitment friction, diving into the brand spillover effect, unpacking the candidate-to-consumer framework, and finally, looking at the ROI of empathy. Let's get to it.
Starting off with Section 1, the hidden revenue leak, and how HR acts as a crucial sales touchpoint.
Look, the global labor market has undergone a total seismic shift. We are now living firmly in a candidate-first economy, and it's heavily driven by digital transformation. Because of that, the old school model, the traditional HR gatekeeper where the company held all the cards and just screened people out, that is completely obsolete. Today, you desperately need a modern marketing mindset. The recruitment journey is literally the defining first touch point of your company's culture. If you aren't treating your candidates with the exact same level of care and speed as your paying customers, well, you're severely handicapping your competitive advantage.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Virgin Media warning, where we look at the real financial stakes.
Just look at that number, $5.4 million. There's this landmark corporate case study showing that Virgin Media was bleeding roughly $5.4 million in annual revenue. And why? Specifically because rejected job candidates had such a wildly frustrating hiring experience that they turned around and actively canceled their cable and internet subscriptions. I mean, wow. They didn't just walk away from the job opportunity, they walked away from the business altogether. Now, researchers actually have a name for the mechanism behind this kind of financial hit. They call it the spillover effect. Basically, it's when a person's experience in one area of your organization spills over and completely alters their behavior in another. An HR failure instantly becomes a direct, measurable loss in sales. The candidate and the consumer, they aren't two different people living in parallel universes. They are the exact same person. Moving right into Section 3, mapping recruitment friction. Let's look at exactly where the funnel leaks. Think about e-commerce for a second. Retailers know that even a tiny bit of lag causes a customer to just abandon their online shopping cart, right? Well, we are seeing that exact same abandonment phenomenon happening in recruitment. And the primary culprits? First, the dreaded black hole of zero communication, where applications just seem to vanish into the void. Then, you've got these cumbersome applicant tracking systems that crash or force candidates to manually type out the exact same resume they literally just uploaded. And finally, those rigid, interrogation-style interviews that feel completely disconnected from whatever brand values you're advertising. To really put the cost of that friction into perspective, studies in human-computer interaction have shown something mind-blowing. Every single additional field you add to an application form reduces the completion rate by a full 10%. 10%! That's the harsh reality of a clunky user experience. Look, if your application takes 45 minutes to fill out, you're not filtering for the best talent. You're actually just filtering for the most desperate. And then there's this massive mobile gap happening right under our noses. 80% of candidates, especially younger talent, are searching for jobs on their smartphones. But get this, only about 20% of corporate career portals are actually optimized for mobile applications. You're basically forcing people to sit down at a desktop computer to use internal tech stacks that look and feel like they're straight out of 2005. It just doesn't work anymore. All right, Section 4, the brand spillover effect, or as I like to call it, the psychology of betrayal. We really have to talk about candidate-consumer duality here. If you operate in retail, banking, telecom, or tech, the person applying for your open role is statistically very likely to already be a paying customer of yours. So when your system fires off an impersonal, automated rejection email 6 months after they applied, or if an interviewer just treats them poorly, they don't just brush it off. They take it as a personal slight. It triggers this deep psychological feeling of brand betrayal.
And the real danger of brand betrayal today is what we call the megaphone effect. In our hyper-connected world of Glassdoor, LinkedIn, and TikTok, a bad interview story doesn't just stay between the candidate and the recruiter. It goes viral. A rejected candidate is either going to be a brand advocate or a massive brand detractor. When your employer brand goes toxic, your cost per hire absolutely skyrockets, because suddenly you have to spend a fortune on marketing and inflated salaries just to convince people it's safe to apply. Let's pivot to Section 5, the Candidate to Consumer Framework. This is your operational fix. So, here is how we reimagine the funnel step by step. First up, targeted attraction. We need to ditch the dry, boring job descriptions and actually start selling the career like it's a premium product. Second, frictionless application. Build mobile-first portals to stop that shopping cart abandonment we talked about. Third is engagement. Use AI so candidates are never left hanging in the dirt. Fourth, transparent selection, meaning the interview is a two-way open dialogue. And lastly, candidate delight. This means ensuring that even the folks you reject receive some personalized feedback so you maintain their loyalty as a consumer. Let's look at the actual consumer-grade tech you should be deploying to automate the admin stuff and humanize the whole process. AI chatbots are great for this. They provide instant gratification for FAQs over the weekend when your human recruiters are offline. Then you've got one-click apply, linking straight to LinkedIn profiles to totally eliminate that mobile UX gap. And my absolute favorite, automated status trackers. Think of it like the Domino's Pizza Tracker model. Instead of agonizing over whether their resume was even opened, candidates get these automated updates. Application under review, interview scheduled, feedback pending. This kind of radical transparency just drastically reduces candidate anxiety. And finally, Section 6, the ROI of empathy and how this protects your bottom line. Academic researchers Backhouse and Tico honestly hit the nail on the head here. They noted that candidates treat your employer value proposition as a product they buy with their time and labor. It all comes back to signaling theory. The recruitment process serves as this massive, glaring signal to the job market. So if your recruitment process is painfully slow, broken, and uncommunicative, top talent is automatically going to assume that your internal operations and your actual tech stacks are equally broken. It's a huge red flag for them. The return on investment when you inject empathy and speed into this process is just undeniable. By streamlining these touch points, you get faster talent acceleration, meaning you're moving top-tier folks through your funnel way before your competitors can snatch them up. You also get high-potential passive talent attraction. You're appealing to the rock stars who already have jobs and just won't tolerate bureaucratic friction. But most importantly, you get protected consumer revenue streams by preventing that vicious brand betrayal during the rejection phase. I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Your recruitment funnel is quite literally the front door to your business. Ask yourself, is your front door welcoming your best customers right now, or is it actively turning them away, one broken application form at a time? It is time to treat your candidates exactly like you treat your most valued consumers. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.